Experts are gathering in Brisbane tonight to contemplate the nation's food security. The three-day forum hopes to pinpoint Australia's role in feeding a rapidly rising global population. With the Murray-Darling Basin scaling back production and some experts predicting food prices will rise by as much as 50% in the next decade, the question is who will make up the shortfall? With 1/10 of Australia's rainfall and only 1% of its landmass, Tasmania is being offered up as part of the solution. And already steps are being made to turn the apple isle into an important new food bowl. Martin Cudahy reports.
The Murray-Darling system has been the country's traditional food bowl for decades. It produces everything from red meat to fruit, rice and wool. This regional heartland is home to 3/4 of Australia's irrigated land and provides 40% of our rural income.
If you take out $5 billion worth of production from the Murray-Darling Basin, we will become a net importer of food. That will shock many Australians.
But overdevelopment, coupled with years of drought, is choking the country's biggest river system. And what could shock even more is the suggestion that the Murray-Darling's days as the food bowl are numbered.
We need to increase production of food if we're going to be self-sufficient or an exporter of food. The only two places you can do that are Tasmania, which has a surplus of water, or the northwest of Western Australia, which also has a surplus of water.
The founding director of the Australian Innovation Research Centre believes the focus needs to move away from the Murray-Darling system. Professor Jonathan West is an expert in agribusiness and has worked for governments in France, New Zealand and Japan. Now he's turned his attention to the island state.
Tasmania can take up the slack and can fill the hole that's been created in our food system from the Murray-Darling Basin.
The plan is for a $400 million network of irrigation projects to turn Tasmania into the food bowl of the nation. Here's how it's meant to work. A series of pipelines pump abundant fresh water from the saturated western part of Tasmania down from the Central Highlands and into drier areas. Some of this water will be stored in dams and reservoirs, and some will be pumped straight onto crops and pasture.
12% of all of Australia's rainfall falls on 1.5% of its landmass, that is Tasmania.
It's hoped the water will add $1 billion each to the dairy, horticulture, red meat, aquaculture and wine industries. The idea has been embraced and taken to the national stage by Tasmania's Premier, David Bartlett.
We have good rainfall, good consistent rainfall, and we have 100 years of experience in managing, moving and utilising and exploiting that water.
One of the places earmarked for development is Tunbridge, halfway between Launceston and Hobart. This is Tasmania's dry heart. All too often, rain clings to the mountains, not falling where it's needed. But Richard Gardner is a farmer who's one step ahead. He built a dam 10 years ago.
Tasmania's agricultural production will never really flourish until we can consistently produce produce of a good quality, but more just being able to consistently produce it.
The land in central Tasmania has been worked for more than 150 years. Now, many of the region's farmers are throwing their support behind a pipeline to supply the community.
It's all about being able to control your production. So in a dryland system, you're reliant on rainfall from day to day, but this season, when you look at the water we've got here now, we know going into a crop of poppies that we've got the water to grow the crop, so we know that we can make an income out of it. And that's what it's all about. It's all about reliable production.
The aim of doubling agricultural production in this state is an aim that we think is achievable. We think the demand for food, both locally, nationally and internationally, will only grow.
The head of Tasmania's Irrigation Development Board is Chris Oldfield. He's responsible for the tens of millions of dollars that's being spent on pipelines and dams.
Reliability of summer water has been a problem for some years in Tasmania and has held back our agricultural production. And by providing now sustainable water during the summer and the drier months, it gives farmers the opportunity to grow their businesses with confidence and to enter into long-term contracts with companies knowing they can supply.
Another region that will have irrigation for the dry summer months is northwest Tasmania.
Plants require moisture and they require constant moisture. You have to have plenty of water. If you've got an irrigation system and plenty of water, you can grow anything.
Farming can be a fickle business. There's droughts and flooding rains, not to mention variable commodity prices. By adding water, this scheme aims to bring some certainty to an uncertain pursuit, which means guaranteed financial returns. And that's attracted interest from the big end of town. Victorian-based Frank Delahunty and Arthur Apted founded the Sustainable Agriculture Fund, a domestic institutional investor. The duo is buying some of the best farms in the country, from New South Wales to King Island.
The key thing that separates the top 25% farmers from the rest is the top 25% farmers make money. They're very likely every year to make profit.
Tens of millions have been invested on behalf of massive clients like Australian Super, AMP and Auscol Super. And because of the food bowl vision, they're eyeing off parts of Tasmania.
We think it's a good place to be in terms of withstanding some of the threats associated with climate change. And we also believe that there's a range of different types of farming opportunities available for us in Tasmania which meet our investment criteria.
The brain behind the food bowl isn't surprised by the interest, and Jonathan West is expecting institutional investors will drive the next economic boom. The only difference, this time it'll be fuelled by water.
We've had a hard commodities boom in Australia, iron ore and coal. We're on the edge of a soft commodities boom, and the smart money is seeing that.
Martin Cudahy reporting from Tasmania.